Welcome to I Drink Your Podcast.
Oh gosh, it's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You leave me no choice. Here comes the smolder.
Wait, you like that?
No.
You don't like that?
No, I don't like that.
No, how about that? You like that?
A little better.
Bread makes you fat?
Does this count as annoying?
Just tell me what you want me to fuck!
Not you, and not you.
Okay, I think it's time to take off your clothes and jump me.
$1 million isn't cool. You know what's cool?
I drink your podcast. I drink it up!
Welcome back to another episode of I Drink Your Podcast. With me today is Emily.
Hi, everyone.
And we got Brandon here with us.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And our new friend, Bill, from A Gamer at 40 podcast. Welcome, Bill.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're super happy to have you here to talk about this not video game movie.
I know. Usually I'm brought on to talk about things with buttons and such, and this is not the case. I'm super psyched to be here.
I mean, Ryan Gosling's hitting a button pretty good.
Hey, listen.
I'm pretty sure that was set up.
It was not. Speaking of hitting a button, though, why don't you go ahead and hit like and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Good Pods, and give us that 5-star review. We're just going to plug at the start every single time until you do it. We want all of our listeners to go ahead and rate us, please. It helps us grow and makes us feel good, which we all need sometimes.
Give us that boost, man.
What movie are we watching, Emily?
Today we are talking about Blue Valentine. We watched it, and we're gonna talk about some uncomfortable things today, I think.
Yep.
You can stream it for free on Tubi and Amazon Prime with ads.
And the ads aren't that bad. Amazon Prime does like 2 minutes every 15 minutes. It's just like watching it on TNT. Oh, come on.
Ugh. See, I'm used to the world of no ads now. I'm never going back.
It's so hard to go back to. It's so hard to go back to one scene of a very tough scene, which we'll talk about probably, into an ad for Amazon. Like father buying their kids all sorts of fun things. Like, it's like, wow, dissonance. Like, know your room.
And then it goes back to like, you want to hit me? Do you want to hit me, huh? That's what goes back to next.
Before we get too much into the movie, Brandon, what's in your glass today?
Well, I have a Coke and I have water. It's just water. So
Coke and water. The 80s supermodel diet.
Oh, jeez.
I said I wasn't going to drink a whole lot in the next one.
There you go. Emily, how about you?
Well, I'm way more on theme than Brandon, but also keeping the water theme. I have a blue cup. Whoa. Mm-hmm. It's filled with some water and lemon and blue food coloring. Because Emily's still got a concussion. So let's call this some sour blue water, because this is what they're going to drink in the future.
Lovely. Very nice.
Well, I'm even more on theme than Emily. I've got a cunnilingus.
Oh, geez. No.
So it's Irish cream and pineapple vodka. And, it feels really good going down, but there's a bit of an aftertaste.
My face is just like scrunched up, and I don't know why. Just hearing Ben say the word cunnilingus was not pleasant.
Bill, how about you? What do you got in your glass?
Well, I am not nearly as cringy as that.
That's good.
I don't drink anymore, but I do drink non-alcoholic craft beer, and I'm enjoying a chocolate cherry dark from Athletic Brewing Company.
Ooh.
And I figured that's like a very Valentine's Day combination, chocolate cherry. So I figured I'd crack open my last chocolate cherry dark. It is delicious.
Cool.
Just for you guys, just for y'all. Saving it for a special occasion.
Very nice.
This is that occasion.
That's beautiful. Well, Bill, we want to get to know more about you and are super excited to have you here. You're our first guest of our new season in 2010. So you had to tell us more about your podcast, A Gamer Looks at 40.
Basically, it's a retrospective of the history of games as told through the stories and recollections of the everyday people who've lived them. So every episode is either a different era or a game or a system. And I do dozens of interviews, and I collect people's thoughts and opinions and recollections of how they experienced these different games and systems and eras. And then I put them all together in a big kind of like documentary style episode. And it's really cool. It's cool hearing all these different perspectives on this medium that a lot of people consider to be very cut and dry. And if you've played games for any length of time, it's affected your life in some way. So, and that's what this show tries to capture, is kind of like that heart and soul and story of people who've played these games and let them affect their lives. So,
Bill, now the title of your podcast, let's go back to that. Because when I thought it was a gamer at 40, I thought, okay, he's a 40-year-old guy and he's looking back at games. Like, how have games changed in the years since, you were a little kid playing? So what does a gamer looks at 40 mean?
A gamer looks at 40, the idea is that I turned 40 last year, and I decided it's kind of getting a little nostalgic. And I don't really dabble in that world too much, but I kind of took that like luxury to be nostalgic, think back. What has been my life been up to this point at 40, and video games have been a huge part of it. And then I decided to maybe tell my story of games as it's shaped me as a person and everybody else's. So it's my story along with all sorts of other people. And I'm talking family members, other podcasters, bloggers, streamers, journalists, just people telling stories of where they were, what it was like in that era, and how it made them feel. And A Gamer Looks at 40, the title came from the Jimmy Buffett song, A Pirate Looks at 40.
Oh.
It's like this wistful, nostalgic kind of look back. And I said, a pirate looks at 40, a gamer looks at 40. And then the treatment came, and that was the show. I was like, okay, got it. Boom. Nailed it. There it is. It took 5 minutes.
That's what's up.
Brandon, you're going to love his show. I've listened to quite a few episodes. And when we were talking before we started recording, Bill, you mentioned that your show kind of has like this wholesome quality. And that's actually how I felt listening to it. I was just like listening to all these memories and people looking fondly at their times as a kid or as an adult now playing games and having these really cool stories be told through a different media. And it's awesome. I love it so much.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's what I used to work at an arcade. I worked at an arcade for almost 4 years. Then like Mortal Kombat 2 came out, was a big deal, and Street Fighter vs. Capcom 2 was like serious in our house, and we played that. And I would like, have tokens and stuff like that on deck. I'd give my brother tokens. He got really good, started kicking my ass in every game I played. So yeah, we had to stop that real quick. I had to stop that job because he was whooping my ass with everything.
And Bill isn't here to talk about video games, actually.
I know. This is another side of my fandom that I very rarely get to scratch these days.
Right. So tell us, because obviously, you're fans of movies. What movie made you fall in love with film?
There's a lot of touch points for me, but I think the movie that really turned me from just a movie watcher into like a film watcher, if that makes any sense, like really pay attention to it, was probably American Beauty. I
Really?
was right in the wheelhouse for floating trash bags and emo stares into cameras and gleefully not knowing that Kevin Spacey was a creep. So like all sorts of wonderful things. So I think that was one of the first ones. That, and I think maybe Fight Club, which was kind of that same idea. My brother and I have my brother's actually a filmmaker, and we have very similar track on that. And I think those are probably one of the two big ones that made me pay attention to movies as an art form, as opposed to, hey, let's just go and hang out and watch stuff. So,
do you have any favorites of, hey, let's just go hang out and watch stuff though too?
Oh my God. That's when I love that stuff. I think my favorite, let's just watch a movie, is Commando.
Oh, yeah.
Commando's oh my God.
It's great.
It's so good. Have you seen the Arnold Schwarzenegger YouTube videos of like they do it in an opera style? They have Predator, Commando. Oh my God, it's so funny.
Oh,
I'm gonna have to send them to you. They're so good.
Please do. Oh man.
I forgot about Commando. Oh man.
Commando's fantastic.
It's classic, dude.
Yeah, I was a film critic for quite some time. My first writing gigs were all film reviews, and I did it for like a decade. So, but that was kind of my jumping off point. But I love a movie. Just a good, well-made movie that you can sit down and watch and have fun with. I think that's a priceless artifact. Like, that's great. Like Unstoppable. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
All right. So, Bill, we also, like, Ben and I are both teachers, and Brandon's been a teacher and we're all working schools. And so we don't really have a ton of time. I mean, the two of them are dads. I'm not. obviously. But also, we just don't have a lot of time in the world, and there's so much media to consume now. So please sell us on something that you've watched recently, because we don't have a ton of time and we need to focus on the good shit.
So I would say if you have two and change hours to carve out of your weekend, at some point, I wouldn't have thought this to be the case when I heard about it, but the West Side Story, the new one, is a joy.
Mm-hmm.
It is an unabashed joy. It's a movie that doesn't need to exist, but boy, oh boy, am I glad it does, because it is a gorgeously made film. Let's talk about the language of cinema and just positivity in our never-ending hellscape that is the 2020s. Yeah, wow, it's just it's a joyful movie that really reminded me how much I like movies. It's literally, that's kind of how I walked out of that movie going, wow, okay, that's what cinema can do. That's awesome.
West Side Story is my favorite musical. And the first time I saw that trailer, I was like, nope, fucking no, I don't need this. Like, get out. I don't need this. And then I saw it and was like, oh, he took that in a different direction. It's not just a retread. It's actually like just a reimagining, a reinterpretation. He actually took some liberties with things, like, and it was really good. I was very surprised.
Yeah, I mean, the original West Side Story is Hollywood royalty, right? That's a tentpole of Hollywood, but that is the 61 West Side Story is the play on the screen. This is the play becomes a movie.
Yeah,
it's really a movie. It's phenomenal.
It's a great way of putting it. Let's get into this movie, Blue Valentine. It has an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes currently, and it made many critics' top 10 lists and received Golden Globe nominations for both of its acting leads. And this movie was directed by Derek Cianfrance. This was his second feature film and the first in 12 years, though he worked all through the 2000s on a variety of music documentaries. And our main cast is Ryan Gosling, who started off in the Mickey Mouse Club with what was a stacked cast of people. Like, you had Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, JT, JC Chazet, Kerry Russell. Like, all of them like went on to become huge stars. Like, I feel bad for the ones that didn't go on, like the Mickey Mouse Club members at that time that like didn't go on to being something. Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be like going to high school and then everyone went on to be successful except you. So kind of like how Brandon feels.
Oh my God, Ben.
All the time.
Oh.
That list, though, that's compared to like the 96 NBA draft list. Like,
right?
That's a lot of good no, seriously. There's a lot of good actors came out of there. Like, damn, I didn't realize that many people came out of it.
After that, though, he did get his movie acting break in Remember the Titans, before becoming a more serious actor in United States of Leland and The Notebook, Half Nelson, for which he received an Oscar nom, and then two 2007 movies that we covered, Fracture and Lars and the Real Girl. Also in this movie is Michelle Williams. She began as a child actor before landing a lead role on Dawson's Creek. She then went on to become kind of an indie darling in United States of Leland with Gosling and The Station Agent before receiving an Oscar nom for her role in Brokeback Mountain.
Oh, that's right. She was in that. I forgot about that.
Last person starring in this movie is Mike Vogel, who starred in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, Poseidon, and Cloverfield.
Who is Mike Vogel?
He is Bobby Orlando.
Wow.
He's the boyfriend, right?
The boyfriend, yeah.
Yeah.
Who was he in Cloverfield? Because I love Cloverfield. Who was he in that?
One of the people.
I'm trying to think. Like, well,
he wasn't the monster. I can say that for certain.
You got any like talents?
Like hidden talents?
Can you dance? You can tap dance?
Can you?
No. Here, I'll play a song and you dance. Okay. I can't really sing. I have to sing goofy in order to sing. Like, I have to sing stupid. Okay?
Okay.
Had not seen this movie.
Nope. I mean, Ben, you hadn't either, but
no. I thought this movie was about Doug's friend Skeeter Valentine from the animated movie.
Okay.
So I was very disappointed when this movie turned out this way.
Well, see, I had a little bit of some knowledge. I knew Ryan Gosling was in it, and I knew some blonde-haired chick was in it because I remember going to our local rental movie place in Duluth, Minnesota, because, that's where I was from. And I remember seeing the cover. It looked very, romantic, but also dark. So this is how I decided to write my synopsis. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Gosling plays a man looking for love. The reason he's so sad? Someone is delivering him a frozen human heart every Valentine's Day, which sends him into a spiral, and rightly so. One day, he meets a blonde, manic pixie dream girl in the rain, and they hit it off at a little diner. As they begin their relationship and Valentine's Day approaches, the man worries that a frozen heart delivered to him will ruin everything... ... until one doesn't arrive.
Whoa. There's more story in that setup than in this entire film. That's amazing.
It is.
That's incredible.
I want to know so much more, though. I need to see that movie. What happens at the end? Why was he getting the heart? I just have so many questions.
Well, that's where my brain goes. I start really interesting ideas, and then I never finish them.
Yeah, I need a treatment. I need a full treatment on that.
That's right.
Yes.
Brandon, please tell us, what is this movie actually about?
Blue Valentine is the uncompromising portrayal of Dean and Cindy, a young married couple who have grown apart, taking one night away from their daughter to try and save their relationship.
I mean, that bare bones synopsis is the movie we got. Not a lot happens in this movie, but also if you're invested in the characters, a whole lot happens in this movie.
And I was super invested in the characters.
Were you?
I surprisingly, I was trying to be like, all right, I'm going to watch it and be really analytical about everything. And the first thing I noticed, because I'm a geek, so the first thing I noticed is it's like, man, did they just lose the 35 millimeter lens altogether? Why is it so tight? And then I was like, oh, okay, this is what they're doing. They're just shooting in this 35 for a reason. And then I started watching more of it, and it felt like it was that choice of lens during the beginning felt like it was made to be uncomfortable in a sense, and kind of suffocating. Something needs to be said, but nothing's being said. So when they got to the when they got to the past, rather, there was a wider shot to see more people in it. You see more inside the frame. And I was like, okay, they're doing this for perspective reasons. They have to be. And then I kind of went back and to see why they were doing it. And that was kind of a part of the reason why. I got the 50 meter lens. I got that part right, but the rest of it was kind of a little bit different. But I was watching it, and I kind of was like, okay, I'm going to be really analytical the first time I watch it. And then probably by the time she meets her ex-boyfriend or whatever at the liquor store, I was into the characters.
Okay.
And I was trying to figure other stuff out. So I had to watch it a few more times to kind of see stuff that I was missing and see where the light was coming from and all the other stuff like that.
So I didn't really catch all of that stuff because, I did not go to school for film, but whatever. I did feel the whole uncomfortable tightness in the beginning, but I was very invested with the characters. And I'm assuming, Ben, you were not as invested?
The characters were really the only thing you were able to latch onto in this movie because there's so little happening. So I was semi-invested, but also I found neither of the characters really root-forable, which is a terrible way of putting that. But I didn't feel like I could root for any of the characters because they both seemed at fault. So I couldn't pick a side. And as someone who watches a lot of sports, I got to pick a side to be invested. And if I can't pick a side, I don't feel a connection.
Bill?
Yeah, see, for me, I love, because I've listened to a few of your episodes already, and I know I love Brandon gets into the cinematography piece of things, well, shot selection and light, and they're using a 50 mil lens, and the 50 mil lens is basically what your eye is. Your eyes are 50 mil lenses. That's what that is. I love that. I always focus in on acting. I love film for acting. I am a huge actor's advocate.
I mean, it makes sense with Fight Club and American Beauty. That makes a lot of sense.
Right. And that's, some critics like cinematography more because it's the language of cinema, and I get it. But the acting going on in this movie is beyond is just outstanding. When I walked away from this movie, I thought to myself, this is like one of the greatest student films ever made.
I was going to say
this is basically basically a student film, but you just happen to have Michelle Williams and Ryan Gosling as like your next door dorm neighbors, right? Like, hey, you want to come to my student film? I got to make something for my class. There's not a lot of story here, and that's why, to Ben's point, the characters aren't rootable because the characters are just us.
Mm-hmm.
They're just people.
Mm-hmm.
They're just people. And they're doomed to fail because they're people. And unless you work at relationships, they are doomed to fail because that's how relationships work, right? So Dr. Cianfrance, he basically puts forward two sides of it. How they got together and 2 days where they try desperately, not really try, actually, where the tooth completely erodes and now the root's exposed and we got to do something. It's either cut the dang tooth off or get it fixed or do something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, you just have a character study. So that's really all this is. But the problem is the characters are just people. They're not terribly interesting. There's no real backstories. Not to get too far into that realm, but so that's kind of where, Ben, where you're saying is that you didn't really have characters to feel for. I felt the same way. I was just enjoying the acting. I was enjoying the craft. So I walk away from this movie saying I like this because I like watching good actors do really good work.
Yeah, so I was invested in a similar way where, yeah, they were really real people to me. And even though they were kind of terrible to each other, I loved their contrast between each other, and seeing the catalyst of the dog dying in the beginning of the movie just kind of set everything in motion. It made everything so uncomfortably real, and everything just sat icky in my stomach. That's why I have this sour drink, I guess, because everything just felt really icky to me. You know, we have Cindy, who's super grounded. She's focused. She's driven, but she's also kind of cold until she meets Dean, who's really passionate and warm and spontaneous and kind of just goes wherever. But as we really get to know them at the beginning, the part that we understand is they both seem kind of abusive to each other, and they both are being manipulative and aren't able to communicate with each other, and they both kind of resent each other for different aspects of their relationship. And it's not until you go back in time and start piecing things together do you really truly understand where their relationship went wrong. And that was real icky to me. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. I know it's a shitty description, but it didn't really make me reflective on my own relationships. It made me more like, well, shit, this is how a lot of life is. That sucks.
Well, we've been talking a lot about the characters. Let's keep there. And what do we think of Dean? Like Dean as a character, Dean as a man. Just what are your thoughts on Dean as presented in this movie?
I would say I think Dean he's more free spirited, like was mentioned before, and I think when she's talking to him, like when they're at that really cheesy, was that hotel, motel, whatever, when they're there, and she's like, "How come you don't do more stuff? You're good at this, you're good at that." He feel like early out he had like ambition, but it was like not focused to where he wanted to go, and he was so much of this like breath of fresh air that she hasn't had before, because it feels like all the other guys that she's been with before was just like these, oh, we're gonna do this, and this, versus having somebody who's like, yo, let's just go ahead and just walk. And I don't think she's had that before. And even his family upbringing, when he kind of mentions like, yeah, my mom just kind of left, you know what I'm saying? So he doesn't realize he's looking for a family, but he is looking for a family and looking for something stable. And she has a family that's unstable. So it's just like with him, I felt like he just got into a point where he got into a niche and he just lost some of that ambition or that that free spiritedness, because now he has to work every day and this is what my life is. And that's what I think he thinks it's supposed to be, without actually having any energy to guide himself to something that's different.
I'll just chime in real quick. I always see him as a child.
Mm-hmm.
He's a man stuck in first gear. Like he's stuck. He has an extremely warm heart. Like one of the opening scenes when he's setting up the elderly gentleman's room when he takes them to the retirement home.
Oh, it's so sweet.
So sweet. Like it's like that kind of like cry, like not ugly cry, but pretty close. Like really, really touching and sweet. So he has this beautiful heart, but he hasn't grown emotionally to the point where he can actually use that to connect with others. So his spontaneity and his kind of like is kind of his undoing because he's not really actively reaching for things. He's just letting things happen. And when you're in a marriage or any relationship, you can't just let things happen because that's how you get to the point at the end of this movie. That's how things erode.
Yeah, I found a lot of the things that he had to say, especially in the past, to be kind of toxic masculinity type language. Like when he had his whole spiel about men being more romantic than women, or like the prettier a woman is, the crazier she is, like shit that Barney Stinson would say on How I Met Your Mother, which just doesn't hold up anymore. But then you also get where it seems like when it comes to a relationship, to Dean, it was a decision he made, and therefore everything after that is already decided. Like, I decided to be with you. Everything else should be fine. We should just be able to coast the rest of the way. Whereas the Cindy wants much more of like an evolving relationship, one with a little more give and take, and something where they are partners rather than just he's there and made the decision to be with her.
Yeah, I can see that. I didn't like either of the characters as people. I didn't. But I still enjoyed the ride. I enjoyed getting to know them and getting invested in who they are. Dean in general, Ben, you brought up some good points. I felt right away that he had some serious red flags, but it was hidden by the warmth and the passion that he had and the legit kindness that he showed right in the beginning with his daughter. You know, Cindy seemed so cold to her, and he was playing with his daughter and immediately recognized that the oatmeal was not going to be good because she didn't let it soak. You know, it was like little details like that made me go, he is a really caring father, and he is doing so much for this family, or at least it seemed like it in the beginning. And like around the halfway point, well, maybe not even that, like after the first third of kind of the first opening present time and then the first back in time part, that's when those red flags started showing up more blatantly, because he was a borderline rapist, you know, and it was so hard to sit and watch this, and him also being so emotionally manipulative to Cindy about, oh, you're going to hit me, and just pushing her to the edge. And it was so hard to watch that. You know, it was just painful to watch that.
Well, when he kept saying they're going to hit me, I wonder how often this happened in the past. Because you get this whole gap. Like you kind of just, you know, everything's going bad. This is to pick up on the last two, or I guess what's not even 48 hours, like 36 hours of like a marriage. You wonder how often they've fallen into these same patterns of she'll say something, he'll deflect, she'll be cold, because she wasn't really affectionate at all toward him. Well, let me rephrase that. There was a few times where you could actually tell that they really love each other, but they're just not in love with each other, which I think was kind of like made like a huge difference. Because when like the dog passed, she's there for when the dogs passed, and hugging them. They're dancing together. They were doing some stuff that kind of like lets you know that they still care and they still love each other. But I think the in love aspect of it and the moving forward part probably went away a long time ago, because he's saying, you're going to hit me, you're going to hit me. He said it so often. It's like, did she just start hitting him all of a sudden? And you wonder, you know, if that's the kind of like the level of like what she saw when she was staying with her mom and her dad, if it got to that point. And even with him, like, since he really never had a mom around, like, I guess that whole gap of like, how is it supposed to work with another person is kind of different for him. Because I think when you don't see mom and dad all the time, I'm not saying it's always like this, but the interaction between the two people that you go up loving first, like your mom, if you're dad, your mom is the first woman that you love, and vice versa for like, you know, like a girl, your dad is the first guy that you love. So if you don't see that, maybe he's trying to figure it out. He figured it's how it's supposed to be. I don't know. It felt like it was a lot not told that you kind of come to your own conclusion on. And it was just so much that, and they portrayed it so well, like that hurt and that trauma and resentment so much. I kind of just got into them and didn't even watch anything else.
To add on to that, Cindy was looking for a way out. That was the way that I perceived it, where she, you know, was trying to egg him on occasionally to get him to hit her. And he even acknowledged that, like, I will not hit you. And even though like he was trying to have sex with her without consent, which is rape, as we know. And it is so frustrating to see how both of them are terrible for each other, and knowing that both of them are doing terrible things to each other, and just sit back and not be able to like intervene. You know, I just wanted to slap them silly and go, you know what? You all need to just talk and have a lot of therapy, because this is so fucked up.
I don't think any of us would necessarily want these two to stay together, but the movie does end a little ambiguous. So do you think they stay together after the credits roll?
No, absolutely not. Bill?
You know, well, here's my thing. I don't know if that's exactly what the movie is trying to ask us.
No,
I don't think it matters. And I totally get what you're saying. I thought about this question a lot when I saw it, and I thought, do you think they stay together? I don't think I have enough information to make that call, because I don't know what happened, since I know, like Brandon said, I know probably maybe a month about, I would guess, of their initial relationship or so, probably, and 36 hours. That's all I've had with them. And the film is not giving me any other story or context clues to really build real thoughts about how their marriage got to this point. So I could only assume this marriage has been eroding through natural time, right? Stress of kids, stress of work, not enough money, moving. All that erosion has been happening over the years, to the point now where, like I said before earlier, you got this raw tooth with this root exposed, and it's either pluck the tooth off and chew with another piece of your face, or, or fix it, or go through the pain of fixing it.
So for me, I say no, so matter of fact, because so many movies you don't get to see the full story of a relationship. It's very similar. So I see the argument about how we only have 36 hours in a month of their full relationship, but that's very similar to a lot of different relationships we see in film. But also, it's the moment where Cindy and Michelle Williams acts the shit out of it, when she is just talking about how she's done. She's not in love. She's done. And she can't, she's like, we can't keep doing this. We just need to stop. And seeing how berated and sad and depressed she is in that moment, where she can barely form full sentences, it made me go, yeah, there's no way that they're staying together. And I know that in real life, there's a high chance that they would stick it out for a couple more years because of the daughter. But I really don't think they did. I think that because of how Cindy was so adamantly broken down, I don't think they're staying together.
That's really interesting, Emily, because that scene that you're talking about where she's telling him she wants the divorce outside of the car, I think is the same scene where he takes his ring off. And that was the scene that I was actually going to bring up to say that they probably do stay together, because you see him take off the ring and chuck it into the bush, and then he gets into the car and then gets out of the car immediately to go after the ring. And she comes with him. And it's almost like no matter how combative they are, like they're in this together and are going to continue to try to do something, whether it's out of like toxic need to be with someone or to have someone.
Okay.
But that scene in particular is the one that makes me think that the end credits is not the end of their relationship, that they continue to try to make it work.
Okay.
And she's done it so much. Like she did it with the dog. Like she hugs with the dog. She puts, he says something and they're driving, and her hand is on his hand when they're driving. It's like small things that you kind of see. So that's why I kind of think that this is probably like the biggest blowout, but I don't think it's like the end, it felt like to me. Because it just didn't feel like it was it. It feels like there's going to be some way that they end up coming back together somehow. So I don't think they're done, but
I just don't want them to.
I get your points, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you're probably right, but fuck, I don't want them to.
Well, I will. I will go on your side of a little bit and say I don't think they will ever have this type of marriage that they had before. They will always have a connection. A, because the kid, that's going to be the kid. They both love their daughter dearly. B, I don't think they'll ever have a healthy relationship, because I don't think either of them are aware enough or even have the proper guidance or the time to work on themselves. You know, I've spent, without going into too much, I spent a decent amount of time in circles. Let's just put it that way. And that's always the number one thing. You got to work on yourself first. Work on yourself, figure your own shit out. And then once you have your own shit figured out, then you can start working on each other's shit, because that's where it all comes from. And I don't think either of them, again, had the time or the inclination or even the guidance for someone to say, hey, you know, you may want to go and just work on your own, figure out why you are so manipulative, which was so hard to watch him be so manipulative to her.
Right.
It's so hard to watch her go do what her mom did when her dad did the exact same thing to his mom. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not a psychiatrist, but please, I've sat in chairs. I know what this is. This is not good.
Right. The way that Dean is like talking about how he wants to fight for his family, he's breaking down emotionally, and he's using Frankie as a tool, honestly. Like, it just is so mortifying. Yes. But at the same time, Cindy, she is so depressed that she is not a doctor. She has lost her ambition. She is just a nurse in her mind, even though a nurse is a fantastic career. But she's resenting the situation and resenting Dean for not doing more for their family. And it's like, they are so bad for each other. And I know that they want to stay together because, like, Dean is so selfless that he stayed with Cindy and Frankie, even though Frankie's not his daughter, you know? It just, everything about it makes me want to angrily punch walls. Mm-hmm. I'm not that violent, I don't think. No, I sound violent right now.
Wasn't assuming, but yeah.
Well, the last movie we did, Monsters, last week, was a movie that was very loosely scripted, and that's what this movie was as well. It had a very loose script, especially in terms of dialogue. Does it work for this movie to do it in this way?
Compared to last week, yes.
Okay.
But also, generally, hearing a little bit about the director's background in this, like, this is telling a little bit of the story of his own perspective on his parents' divorce and former relationships, his current relationship, and how he wrote, I think, somewhere between 50 and 60 scripts for this movie. He obviously had the premise, he had the goal, he had the themes that he wanted in this movie. And if he's focusing more on the relationship between the two people and them as characters, it works way better than let's just go shoot a bunch of stuff and see what happens.
You know, I'm always in favor, and this is going to sound maybe being a little stick in the mud, of scripted dialogue, because I feel dialogue is where you have the most efficient way of telling us about characters, telling us who people are through what they do and what they say and how they interact. But I think in this movie, especially given the provenance of it, how much work they did, they lived together for a period of time as a family, and they were doing home movies, and they were buying their own groceries with the budget that the characters would have had. I think giving them that freedom to really explore their relationship and let us watch as they explore it really lent it a lot of authenticity to it. I really liked it in this instance, where normally I don't. I prefer a script to a certain extent because, again, I want that structure. I like structure. It's just me being, that's how I like movies. But I think in this instance, though, I think it really was really nice. It was good.
And I don't know if part of it, the script being non-existent, I mean, it was there, but it was also just a lot of improvisation. Do you think that also some of the cinematography and the choices that they were making were more on the spot because of the dialogue that the actors were making up?
I feel like with this movie, a lot of the cinematography just felt like point and shoot, where it's like, I'm going to frame the camera in this way on this section of the room and allow the actors to move within the frame and do their dialogue. I didn't feel like the dialogue necessarily guided the shots being chosen or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that, and I don't think you get the really cool joke in the in the
bus.
In the bus.
Oh my God.
It was terrible. You know, what made it funny is that he didn't laugh, and I don't think he knew what it was going to be. But like people behind him were laughing. I had to be the crew. I was like, that shit is so authentic, and that made it to me. That made it better. Even the guy who was the mover with him, I think a lot of his stuff just might have been like, hey, so say this, or how would you react to this? That's how it felt to me. It felt like a genuine answer. So it's like it's Everything in here felt really, really just authentic. And I think for me, it works. I've known directors that are strictly by the script, and the other ones be like, hey, what would this character say? So I think they kind of had that happy medium in between. It worked pretty well. I enjoyed it. This is a movie I wanted to see it for a long time. Just never got around to watching it. And now that I see it, I really like it.
The realism that you talked about, Bill, I definitely felt with the dialogue. I would have appreciated a little more efficiency with the dialogue, which would have happened with a script, because it felt like, especially a lot of the argument scenes, it was Ryan Gosling asking a lot of questions to then prompt Michelle Williams to improv. Like, he was being a very giving actor in those scenes where he's like, I'm going to ask you a question that's going to continue your line of thinking. But it just felt like it just kept circling and dragging. And that's how arguments actually happen in real life. So I get it. But also, I'm watching a movie and I'd like a little bit more focus.
Yeah, I guess focus is the best way of putting that, and that's, again, not to belabor the point too much, but I like scripts. I like scripts and dialogue, because dialogue is going to provide efficiency. That's the easiest way to provide character information and drive plot forward and let characters grow, because you purposely build lines of dialogue to help move things forward and kind of build the pieces. When you let actors do it themselves, they're kind of doing it themselves. But again, in this situation where there really isn't that much of a narrative here, we're kind of not here for that. We're here for this kind of character study and this relationship study. I think it actually lends a lot of authenticity, and you have awesome actors doing it, which helps a lot too.
Yeah.
When you're doing your student film in college, you don't have awesome actors to work with, so it's it wouldn't work 99% of the time, but here it really does.
I think we are ready for a break, Ben.
Okay.
Do you want to give us some funny times after this?
Don't hype it up like that.
Sorry, just ignore me.
Failure. This one was inspired by Brandon.
What's that?
This letter was inspired by you, Brandon.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. Dear disgraced family dinner, Jerry's a fucking moron because you looked so tasty. Meatloaf smothered in gravy, I gotta call attention to you first. The way you sat there, stoic and strong in the face of Jerry's unkind words, and even took a punch from that bastard, you're truly the pillar of the meal and earned that place, and all the little sides have a role model in you. Potato, pasta, casserole looking fucking thing. Even though I couldn't tell what you were, I see you for what you are, a beacon of hope for the family that better days are ahead. And lastly, fresh green beans with seemingly no spice or anything on them. You aren't my thing. I don't like vegetables, but you sure did look green, and that's all a vegetable fan can really ask for from you. Hang in there, y'all. Jerry's actions had nothing to do with you. He just married the wrong woman.
Oh my God.
Signed, Ben.
Just giving a little pep talk to the
the food. Yeah.
Oh man.
I just was so angry that he's like, stupid dad's like, I'm not gonna eat this. This is shit. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about?
Anger is so scary.
Yeah. You want me to make you eggs is something I say to my 10-year-old when she doesn't want to eat the meal. Like, that's a grown-ass man. Come on. Okay, so good, bad, and weird. Let's start with the winner. Who won this movie?
Michelle Williams.
Good choice.
I mean,
preach it.
Honestly, I felt like, as Bill said, the acting was phenomenal on every aspect of the movie. But when I was looking at more of the Wikipedia stuff, and I was like, oh, she was nominated for an Academy Award? Whoa, okay. I definitely missed some things. And so I just kind of took some time to watch some snippets of the movie instead of going back and watching it again. And I was realizing more and more just how authentically amazing she was in this movie, and seeing the kind of quirky humor that she had in the beginning when she's like using the wheelchair, and, watching her especially deal with an unplanned pregnancy and 2 abusive partners, and also living in an abusive family with her parents. It just was so raw and so beautiful to watch.
I feel like this is like Michelle Williams' wheelhouse. Like, she could do these roles in her sleep and just be nominated for an Oscar every single time. Like Brokeback Mountain, this one, Manchester by the Sea, Greatest Showman. Like, this is her wheelhouse, like the wife who is unhappy.
Like, wait. I'm happy with kids and have money? I don't think I can do that.
I also said Michelle Williams wins this movie, and it's not even close. I mean, Ryan Gosling does some excellent work in this. He's really great. But boy, oh boy, is she good. She has such control.
Mm-hmm.
She is in complete control at every single moment in this film. And it's one of the like you mentioned, Emily, where she finds out she's pregnant. Playing that to type would have been a freak out or an anger or a scream. She just takes it because that's what she's done her entire life. She just takes it. And her reaction is perfect. She just throws the thing away and just, okay, I'll have to deal with this like everything else. All of her great work are in the margins. I mean, we have her big, those scenes when she's saying that she's done, when she's emptied, but she has all these wonderful moments and touches and looks. It's extraordinary watching her perform. She's in a movie called Meek's Cutoff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a slow movie. If you want to watch a slow movie about a wagon train in the 1800s that took the wrong way because they followed the wrong guide getting to California, that's not a thing you want to do when you're in a wagon train. Follow a guy named Meek and his cutoff that he's never traveled before, ever. Talk about a performance where a strong female character is trying to keep everything together. Just keep it together. She is extraordinary. So she wins.
Brandon, did you have someone different?
No, the cinematographer killed it.
Okay.
No, the cinematographer. I don't want to butcher his name. It's Andrew Parka. I'm probably butchering it. I'm sorry. He also did Half Nelson. He did New York, I Love You. I've never seen New York, I Love You, but I was able to see his scene on YouTube. Because every director and every cinematographer had like a snippet of that, kind of put it all together at the end or put parts of it together. And it's same thing. Like it's a lot of natural light. They're probably using some bounce someplace. Maybe have an ND filter on the camera. You never know. But it's still put together well. And this, again, low light situations with no light is a bitch to do. Like either you're pulling up ISO or your aperture's already open trying to get light, but to actually do it and to pull it off and look good and to be able to still tell a story, even in that little bitty hotel room where it's like all blue and you never see the whole bed, but it's revolving around. You never see a whole lot of anything at all because everything's so tight with them. And to tell that story with that and be able to understand, like, you're building tension tension's built from the first time they interact and it's still there. And then by the time you get to the point where they're at the hospital, like the clinic or whatever, now you're starting to see 3-4 people in the frame. And it gets wider because everything's now aired out and you showed that on camera. And to be, again, low light situations, no lights, the outdoor stuff, the night stuff, it's how you want to film a film without much light, rather. And I thought it was just amazing from beginning to end.
I'm really proud that I feel like I'm learning a lot from Brandon and actually starting to understand and comprehend in movies, because I was like, oh shit, I caught on to some of that in the movie. And now Brandon's talking about it and I feel really good about myself. Ben, who won for you?
I went with the director. Because after reading about like the lengths that he went through to get the performances out of Gosling and Williams, like I gained a lot of respect for him as an actor's director. Like the decision to have them live together for a month before shooting, planting little seeds inside each actor before they started to that the other one wasn't aware of, to like drive tension between them, and then even starting fights off screen between the actors so that it would then add more tension on screen. Like it's just little decisions like that that led to the great performances that we saw from Williams and Gosling. And that type of actor manipulation, when it's done with respect for the actors, is something that I'm a huge fan of. I'm not as much of a fan of directors that like intentionally terrorize their actresses like Kubrick did during The Shining. Like nothing like that. But when you do it smartly and in a way that is performance focused while also maintaining respect, I'm a huge fan of that.
I don't know, if I was actually asleep and I got woken up by Ryan Gosling, I think I would be just as cranky.
Wow.
She was legit asleep.
She was straight up snoozing. Yeah.
Okay, how about some good stuff? Let's keep talking about the good.
I really loved the president's dance scene where Michelle Williams is like reciting all of the presidents in the song and they get into the dance. Like this is a very famous part of the movie because I definitely remember seeing glimpses of it in a wide variety of places. I feel like tons of YouTube essayists, and it has been, I've seen it somewhere. I don't know where, but I've seen it. And the reason I loved it so much was because of the high fives in it.
Yeah.
Them high-fiving just added this really genuine cuteness to these two people learning about each other. And I loved that. The high fives.
Well, I'm going to call out the great cunnilingus scene. I'm going to say the word again for Emily.
Oh, stop. But the scene was great.
The scene was really good. It almost earned the film an NC-17 rating until Gosling was like, they give blowjobs on film all the time in R-rated movies. How is this any different? And the MPAA couldn't argue with that. So it got the R rating. But yeah, great scene.
It makes me feel really happy to watch Ryan Gosling films and support him. Feel like, yeah, women deserve pleasure too. Yeah. And not have it be a weird rating.
I like the end credits with the fireworks. You see them in the fireworks. I really like that because it felt like that's all Brandon. When they're. That's all when they were kind of like together. You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of like you think about the end and you think about the beginning and the end. So like as he's walking off, like maybe he's thinking about all the good times they had together, and it's just these freeze frames of them when they're younger and they're together and getting married and chilling out on the street, stuff like that. I really like that. That in the part when he was about to attempt to jump over the fence. If she didn't tell him, I wonder how much of that was he just did that shit on the spot.
Oh, he did that shit on the spot.
Okay, all right. Because I was looking at that like she seems like she's for real. Like don't do it because he was damn near all the way over. And I'm like, there's no way they would have gotten a permit for that shit. There's no fucking way. He would have fell off that. That would have been the end of Guy Ryan. I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, he's not gonna put both legs over, is he? I'm like, oh shit, he put both legs over.
And I was gonna say they didn't get a permit for any of that. By the way, they had no permits for the bus. They had no permits for the Brooklyn Bridge. They had no permits for Dumbo wherever they were downtown. They had none of that. I loved everything in the future room. I think we mentioned it a little bit. I liked everything in there, and because it's a perfect encapsulation. If you only have 20 minutes of this movie to see, just see everything in the future room, and you got the whole movie basically. Because that's the point where we realize as the viewer, it's a perfect illustration of them not knowing each other. They forgot who each other were. All she wants is an adult conversation to like talk about something. Hey, let's work on a thing out like adults as we need to do. And he just wants to get his needs felt, his emotional needs, maybe his physical needs. Hey, let's just get drunk and mess around like we did when we were kids or when we first met. It's 7 years later. You have a kid. You're not the same person. Y'all, you're not the same people. You've changed. You've grown. It's life. You've been eroded by life. So everything in the future room, it's not only is it shot beautifully, there's always great little touches. Like even when they're on the bed, you hear a little like, even when the alarm goes off, I think it sounds like almost like Star Trek sounds, like always like little weird little Star Trek sounds. It's just a perfect encapsulation. He's let's do something spontaneous, and she's like, we gotta clean, like we got her out of the house for a day. That's what we do. We got to get stuff done, right? And you just work on it, and neither of them know what the other needs, and it's so hard to watch because again, I've been in similar situations and seen similar situations like. Y'all just need to talk and need to relearn each other because y'all forgot who you were or the person you thought the other person was has changed and you didn't bother to keep up.
Right. Ben, Wesley would 100% say, just communicate.
Yep.
Two other really good things that I want to talk about before we move on to the bad, but I loved the grandmother in this movie.
Yep.
I felt that having Cindy care for her and seeing she did have one very loving relationship in her immediate family. And the honesty of the grandma talking about how she didn't love the grandpa. They may have thought that they did, but I loved that conversation, and I loved watching Cindy really take care of her grandma, and it was just very lovely and sweet, but also, again, really real and raw.
That was my favorite scene in the movie, Emily. I thought
Really?
that conversation was just really well done, and I thought it actually provided kind of the grounding thesis for the movie. Like everything after that, kind of, if you look back on it with what the grandma says about like falling in love and like I didn't really love him, and you just got to trust. Like a lot of everything that happens after goes back to that one thing, and we can see why Michelle Williams' character behaves the way she does because of that thing her grandma said.
Yeah, I think it was my favorite scene to watch, but I do have a favorite scene it was the hardest thing that I've watched in a long time, but I am so grateful to the director for including it, and that's the abortion scene. I, as a woman, have struggled with like seeing how the media pushes out so many toxic things and really misinformation. Media will put out misinformation constantly, and so women don't get the knowledge and resources that they need in times of unplanned pregnancy. And so for me, watching her go through the process of making that decision, but then also she had such a kind nurse and doctor to help her through it, in this really tough situation. It was extremely tense, but it really was reminiscent of me getting my own IUD, of how scary it is to have a speculum being inserted into a vagina. Like it is terrifying. And even if you have someone caring for you and there for you, it's really terrifying. And even when the doctor says breathe in and cough, shit, that's the same direction I got for my IUD. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God, she's on her own. She can't talk to her family about this. She doesn't really have any other options, but still the respect that the doctor and the nurse had as soon as she said stop, that to me was by far the most amazing thing I think I've seen in film when it comes to women's health. She said stop. They immediately stopped, because you don't hear that. You don't hear of doctors really taking women's voices seriously. There are horror stories everywhere. And I just want to say thank you to the director for including that, because it was by far one of my favorite things I've seen.
Let's talk about the bad now. Is there anything that didn't work for you?
The doctor with the ulterior motive. I did that not work for me at all. I would have much liked that he just said, hey, we'll get you set up and something up there to go up there. So it looked like she was trying to make moves to move on. I didn't not move on, but move to like, okay, I'm advancing my career. But then for him to be like, oh, we can have dinner and go out and kick it. And I was like, I just didn't need that part at all. Because now then it feels like every guy is like using her from here on out. Like I just didn't like that aspect of it.
I think I kind of really spoke about the things I didn't care too much for. Again, this is me just more as what I like seeing in movies, or what I attract me to movies is just not as much narrative. I would love to see a bit more narrative, so I get a little more into the journey from point A to point B, as opposed to here's point A, here's point B. But again, that's more of a personal thing, not so much a stylistic thing. It's not the movie that the director was trying to make, so which is fine. It's not my movie to make. And I just feel like it's hard. Sometimes I feel like the director really does present scenarios as opposed to telling a story.
Okay.
And when you're like presenting a scenario, here's the scene, the setup, here's the stuff you'll need, and now draw your own inferences on whether or not they should stay together or whether they should continue onward. That's fine. But again, for me, in films at least, I prefer a more focused narrative that would not lead me to what you're trying to say. I don't want to link up to a game I'm playing. That wouldn't make sense right now. I don't love when movies or any media really uses iconography and uses something as serious as a marriage crumbling or relationship crumbling, just presents it and doesn't comment.
Okay.
If you present, don't comment. I'm playing a game right now called Bioshock Infinite. And Bioshock Infinite, I very much dislike this game. I'm playing it for a different podcast. And there's very strong racist imagery and verbiage used in that game. And I feel like the filmmakers, the game makers, use that imagery and never comment on it. Like, you can't show blackface and use racist imagery and didn't just use it and go away and just walk away as a plot device. Like that stuff's too serious to be a plot device. You need to comment on it. It's irresponsible to not do so. And I'm not saying that's what Blue Valentine does. I really don't think so. They're just trying to present the relationship of two people, and you get to kind of choose your own adventure on what happens next based on what you've seen. But man, the next level filmmaking, I think, and if this director, I think he was really young when he did this too, which again, why I call it student film. That's kind of what student films do. You kind of have scenarios, you have scenes, there's not the point. I hope I'm making sense, but
you are.
Not to belabor the point, I would love to see this be more narratively focused, that actually has something to comment on relationships, as opposed to just showing a relationship in turmoil and then letting us kind of run with it.
My bad is really just a personal thing, and it's that it didn't even detract from the movie necessarily, but the way that Ryan Gosling was always acting so childish and silly, whether his daughter was there or not, I just found to be super insufferable. And then maybe like 20 minutes into the movie, I realized that I am that person who acts that way with his daughter. And I was just like, I just went into this like self-loathing spiral. It hit too close to home.
Oh no, Ben.
Like him being like, how do you want to hear how people laugh in the future? Like, I swear to God, I've said something like that.
Totally.
I didn't really have any specific bad stuff. I think the only thing that I just struggled with is similar to when I watched The Social Network. It made me feel things I didn't really want to feel, where I didn't want to have to think about all of the abuse and the rawness of this movie. It's not that it hit close to home, because there really wasn't a ton that tied me to it besides the abortion scene. But, it had that realness that made me want to just cringe the whole time.
Okay, let's finish it off with the weird.
Oh, I had some weird. Why the fuck is there school in July? Maybe it's a preschool. I don't care. But there is no fucking school in July where they're having, we're going to have a cute little 4th of July singing thing. No, that doesn't happen. There is no school in July.
Some schools do year-round school in other states.
No, stupid. I hate it.
They do.
Don't care. Took me out of the movie. I hate it.
Just because we live in a farming community state and have summers off doesn't mean that every place is like that.
Nope. They didn't have the money for private school. And that would have been private school.
Yeah, like charter school or something. Yeah. No.
But we don't know how many houses he's painting. They may have scrounged to pay for some private school. I mean, shit, painters do. I did construction for a long time. Painting is a bitch. Like, if you get about 6-7 decent contracts, you can come out with a little bit of coin. Like, hey, there's a couple times, even though I'm working someplace else, I'm like, I'll take a drywall job. I need a little extra money. I need a new car.
Brandon, I don't believe it. I don't believe that Ryan Gosling's character had enough money where they could send their child to a private school and live in that dump.
You never know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd like to make a formal motion that anytime a male character threatens to kill themselves if they don't get what they want, that we call it a Gosling. Because he did this same shit in The Notebook. And it ain't romantic and it's not clever. It's just manipulative. Like, that's the reason it popped into his head to do that, is because he already fucking did it.
I'd be actually fine. My weird is I'm kind of over his hipster ukulele.
Oh,
like I don't.
Really?
What are you doing walking around the city with your hipster ukulele? I get it. It was 2010. It was a different time. It was of its era. I could see some dope walking around just playing songs, annoying me on the subway while I'm trying to get to work. I get it, but no, I was kind of sick of him and his dopey ukulele. And it was to a good end. It was a good scene, right? Of that beautiful scene when they find the heart and playing the song. But I'm like, that ukulele just bugs me.
Hot takes from Bill.
That's it. I told you, that's it. I'm going to let it all out on this show.
Well, let's put a cork in this thing. Bill, give us your review for this movie.
Well, I got to say, as much as I really do enjoy this movie. Let's back up a second. As much as you can enjoy watching two people very almost realistically destroy their lives and their marriages over petty squabbling and stare at the screen saying, please, just do something else. Like, don't go to the future room. Just go on a date, get some dinner or something. This is a masterclass of acting. Michelle Williams completely owns this movie. She is by far and away the star of this show. It's a very well realized exercise in a character study and a relationship study. While I would love to have more narrative, that's not the point. And this is not a movie. This is one of those movies I can't recommend to somebody unless I really know them well. I can't say to a friend, hey, I just saw this movie, Blue Valentine. You should check it out. Not for everyone. Not everybody wants to sit there for 2 hours and watch two people implode. But I think it's a really strong effort. And I think it's, just a masterclass of acting on Michelle Williams. And it's a really cool piece of art for what it is. Even though it's not quite the narrative movies that I particularly like. Brandon?
I liked it. I actually, and this is going to sound probably kind of bad, I actually had to watch half of it with the sound off because I was too into what they were saying. So I had to watch it just to be able to see the frame and not be distracted by the acting. So I think the acting is really good in this. Like everybody's been saying. I liked it. I can't think of anything too bad about it. Even the interaction when like he's setting up the old guy's rooms, I thought that was great. I even like the old guy because my grandpa used to wear suspenders up that high. I love the cinematography in it again. The direction I thought was good. I can't think of anything that's really bad about it. So I don't know if I'd recommend it to a lot of people. Just like Bill said, it feels like it's like, yo, if you really like, this is the one that you say if you have a guy or a friend, girl or guy who really likes films and really likes the whole kind of character study aspect of it, you recommend this. It's like, hey, check this out if you haven't seen it. I wouldn't recommend this to the friend who likes, Endgame or something like that. Like, that's not the one.
Matt would not want to watch this movie.
No, probably
It's not a Matt movie. Well, I mean, my review is come for the acting, stay for the cunnilingus. Gotta slip the word in one more time.
I hate you so much.
Dude, I just found out what like Morning Dew was like a couple of days ago. I never heard of Morning Dew before.
I don't think I want to know what this is, Brandon. We're going to move on with my review.
Okay, all right, go for it.
Tune into IDYP After Dark for Brandon to explain Morning Dew.
Okay, as Brandon and Bill were talking about, I don't think this is an every person movie. I really think that anyone who thinks themselves as like a film buff or they're really fascinated by film and different things you can do in cinema, they definitely should check this out. But I was even thinking like some of my really close friends, a lot of them are couples, and I 100% would not ask them to watch this. I just think that it would be really hard to watch. Even talking to my husband, it's like, hey, have you seen this movie before? And he went, oof, I'm never watching it again. He thought it was brilliant, but it's hard. And so I think that you're absolutely right. You just have to know your people of who you're recommending this film to. But again, it was beautifully done.
What's your favorite idea? Mine is being creative.
How do you get the idea?
I just try to think creatively.
Here's my first question. In honor of Bill, Blue Valentine, the video game. What's it like?
I would say it'd probably be like a walking simulator, like a Gone Home or a What Became of Edith Finch.
Yeah, God, I love that game.
Yeah, let's say it's like that, and you'd play out the different scenes of their relationship, and like this movie, like the movie, it wouldn't really have a resolution. It would just be kind of like this interactive story where you could play out the different parts of their relationship.
I'm gonna go with a much less funny version of Leisure Suit Larry, where it's just Ryan Gosling trying to have sex with his wife who doesn't want it.
Oh man.
Boy, oh boy.
See, I thought for sure, Ben, you would do something with Mario.
I do love me a Mario game.
Blue Valentine tournament fighter. He just
Brandon, we go on Mortal Kombat with Blue Valentine?
No, Mortal Kombat. That would probably work. So I'm thinking, we're playing this game now. I forgot what it's called. It's like dust. It's like Blood and Dust or something. It's like a choose your own way type thing. What is it called? I can't think of the name right now. I was gonna look it up. We're playing it right now. It says it's almost like that whole like Walking Dead choose your own adventure thing, like that. So this is what this kind of feels like. It feels like if you, do I deflect and blame her, or do I actually like, or like, do I like do like the Valentine's Day room, or do I do the future room? Like, that kind of depends on what happens afterwards. And then you're like, okay, do I like make the stupid noise for my daughter, or do I just not do that? And it's like that's what it kind of does, and then it kind of bounces off the other characters, so you can actually have a good ending. But
like those Telltale games, that's what you're talking about, right?
A Telltale game, yeah. But this
Yeah.
one was like, this one we're playing on PlayStation 5 is like serious. Like, cats is losing lives, and it's really, really good.
Brandon, I had a similar thought. I felt like this would have been really good as Detroit Becoming Human.
I almost said Detroit.
Because then you could see like what everyone else is choosing too. And I was like, oh, that'd have been really cool. Or combining it with like Life is Strange, where you like can go back in time and change your mind on things, and like it's destroying the fabric of time or shit. You know, I All right, since Brandon brought it up, number 2, remember the super fun rooms in the hotel? Yeah, super fun. We had the future room, Cupid's Cove. I think I saw Atlantis in there.
Oh.
Atlantis was there.
Yep. I gotta know. Tell me a room that you're gonna stay in with your partner and why.
I mean, oh, Jesus. Okay. I mean, it's got to be a pirate room because I'm all about pegging.
Oh.
Oh, God.
Wow.
I can't believe that came to you so fast.
I mean, does anyone else need to comment? I think that might be it.
Yep, that's it.
I think for my wife and I, because last night actually we my in-laws watched the kids. We went for dinner. They say, hey, leave the kids here. We'll bring them back tomorrow. We're like, do you have to? They're like, yeah, we have to. Okay, we'll bring them back kids tomorrow. And we went to the slumber shack because what we did is we went home and slept. And we slept for 9 hours and no one woke us up. And it was great. So anything that has like the slumber shack has like a bunch of really cozy pillows. It's a place to sleep.
Different things happening in your room from my room.
Yes.
Definitely different things.
All right, last one. Here we go. Blue Valentine was almost called just Valentine, but I'm more curious about different color Valentines and the story of what that story looks like. So, you got your mahogany Valentines. You've got your lime green Valentines. So I want you to pick a color and tell me a brief synopsis of what that movie would be.
This requires way more thought.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
I'm sorry, I thought it was super fun.
This is super fun. I need to think.
Oh yeah, you can take your time.
I want to try to do a good one.
I can assign you a color if that helps.
I'll take an assignment.
You want an assignment?
Yeah, I'll take a prompt.
Right,
I'll take a prompt.
All right, I'm gonna look up some colors quick. Colors.
Does anybody really know what Blue Valentine means, though? Did anybody look it up?
It's Tom Waits' album, apparently.
But like there's actually like a definition for Blue Valentine.
Oh, I don't know.
Is it right next to Morning Dew on Urban Dictionary?
Stop,
Morning.
please.
I'll let you know what Morning Dew is like. Literally just heard what that was like a week ago. I'm like, I've been this old and I had just now figured out what Morning Dew means?
Let's go with Bill, you're doing fuchsia.
I was hoping for fuchsia.
Nice. Fuchsia. And Brandon, you're doing mint Valentine.
Mint.
There's your assignment.
Fuchsia is basically red, right? Like
is it?
blush.
It's like a pink. It's very vibrant pink.
Yeah, it's like yeah, okay.
Mint Valentine for the person who has a little bit of halitosis. Help you out there. Get that nice and fresh for you. Wait, this is supposed to be like a Valentine that you're giving, or this is...
I don't care. I love it either way.
I think I butchered the assignment. I think I butchered it already.
I love it, though.
You know what I'm saying? Making sure that's nice and fresh for you guys' endeavors for the afternoon.
I should have gone that route, Brandon. I was thinking a movie, but like that is so funny.
Oh, movie? Oh, you can make it a movie too.
Yeah, you can make it a halitosis movie.
Yeah, you can make it smooth. Yo, let's get that breath right. You know what happens. You know what I'm saying? There's garlic, onions. You know what I'm saying? Cunnilingus. Sometimes you have a little.
Oh my God!
There we go. There it is. There it is. He was working his way up. Working his way up. That was.
So hey, it's right to Valentine's Day. There you go. You got it. You got it.
I hate you, Brandon. I'm kidding. I love you. Ben or Bill?
Fuchsia Valentine, the Hallmark card line for those who don't quite love your beloved, but you don't quite hate them either. You're kind of just cruising along this kind of ever wavy path of somewhat self-acceptance.
I love it.
I'm going to go Beaver Valentine. And actually, it's just Blue Valentine with beavers.
I was about to drink something too. I stopped mid.
You guys really...
Them being beavers also adds to the joke of cunnilingus.
Right. He brings us back together. That's a double.
Yeah, we're full circle.
He got the double there.
Now let's all agree to never be creative again.
So, Bill, you're going to play today's game.
Shall we play a game?
I despise guessing games.
This great game. Makes you think and it helps you memory.
Let the games begin.
And today's game is called It's Better to Receive Than Give.
Wait, I got a question before we start.
No.
No qualifiers on this? Okay.
So it's Valentine's Day, and a series of movie character suitors are lining up at your door to give you gifts, Bill. So they are either going to give you chocolate, flowers, a card, clothing, or sex. So I'm going to give you a movie character, and you tell me what gift they're bringing you.
Now, is this what gift I think they're going to give me or what gift I want to receive?
This is what gift you think they're giving you.
And this is always Ben's opinion, so...
Well, this is kind of rooted in who the characters are. So there's reasoning for this.
Okay, I like that. Okay, so and the options are...
chocolate, flowers, a card, clothing, or sex. Away we go. Forrest Gump.
Oh, chocolates.
Correct. Edward Bloom from Big Fish.
I haven't been forever since I've seen it. A card?
Incorrect. Flowers.
Flowers. I was going to say flowers.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Tom Hansen from 500 Days of Summer.
Certainly not sex. Clothing?
Incorrect. It's going to be a card for that one because he's a greeting card writer.
That one.
Oh, wow. Okay. Bang. It's been forever since I've seen that one. Okay.
Debbie from Debbie Does Dallas.
Well, that would be sex.
That would be, yes. Lester Burnham from American Beauty.
Oh, he would be giving me, flowers.
Correct. Miranda Priestley from Devil Wears Prada.
Clothing.
Correct. Andy Dufresne from Shawshank Redemption.
It would be... well. I don't know how any of the other ones fit. I'm gonna say sex.
It's a card because of the postcard at the end.
Oh,
there was a postcard at the end. Okay, I couldn't place it. Okay.
Willy Wonka.
Oh, that's chocolate, of course.
Chocolate, correct. Wally.
The
Wally.
robot?
Yep.
That's gonna be a flower.
Flower, correct. Last one, Magic Mike.
Magic Mike. Oh, it's going to be his clothes.
It's definitely clothes. Thank you for not saying sex. He's a stripper, not a hooker.
Thank you, indeed.
Yes. 7 out of 10. Congratulations, Bill. You are a winner today.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was pretty great.
Bill, thank you so much for joining us today. Why don't you plug your podcast before you go?
I will, and thanks again for having me. Once again, it's called A Gamer Looks at 40. It's a, history or retrospective of video games as told through the stories and recollections of everyday people who lived it. You can check out the show on Twitter. It's just Twitter, search A Gamer Looks at 40. You can find me there. And I'm on all the pod listening platforms, so whichever platform you enjoy, feel free to use that to find the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Emily, what do we got next week?
Next week, we will be welcoming our friends from When Cinephiles Attack and discuss the Martin Scorsese directed Shutter Island, which I also have never seen before.
And we're not going to actually give you any hints for that. You just get the title Shutter Island.
I know Leonardo is in it.
Yep.
That's it.
Michelle Williams, too. Another Michelle Williams movie.
Oh, yes, she is. I forgot she's in that, yeah.
Guess what character she plays?
A sad, depressed wife?
Yep.
Oh, seriously?
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, she's got a type.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Please like, rate, subscribe, share us with a friend or two. You can find us on social media at IDYP_podcast, or you can email us at idrinkyourpodcast@gmail.com. And Bill, before we go, we have all of our guests at the end in their best Daniel Day-Lewis impression say, I drink your podcast, I drink it up.
I drink your podcast. I drink it up.
Beautiful.
Oh,
absolutely
the
beautiful.
end, the going up on the up. I love that. That was perfect.
And I almost continued my impersonation in saying I actually do listen to this show every week. So me and my good son here, JW, will go to the Peachy Dance and listen to I Drink Your Podcast. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Take it easy, y'all.